Hey guys, we are going to be canning tomato sauce like a mad woman. I absolutely love canning, growing tomatoes, and making sauce. So I'm going to show you the exact process and we're going to do it all outside. So let's get ready. So first you got to get your setup. So we're doing this outside. So I have a canopy set up just so we're in the shade because it's hot. It's usually summertime that you're doing this, right? You can cover your picnic table or not, totally up to you. I got a couple cutting boards out with some knives. This is for the kids. They're going to do a lot of the work, which is great. They can help out so much. Of course, depending on your age and your safety and stuff like that. So you're going to have all your tomatoes washed, ready to go. You're going to have some towels out. You're going to get your different type of containers that you're going to be putting the cut pieces into, and then also your scraps. And this is the thing that you're going to absolutely love by doing tomato sauce, especially outside, because you keep the mess and the heat outside, which is great. But this KitchenAid strainer, juice and strainer, is just absolutely phenomenal. And you guys are going to just be mind blown at how this works and how wonderful it is. Next step, we're getting our fire started because we are actually going to water bath this on open fire. And that way, everything is outside. Everything we're doing is outside. Then you also want to make sure you have your jars ready, your big old spoon ready, your vinegar ready so you can wipe the lids. You need the lids and the everything else all set up. Have it all ready so you can get cruising along with this. So we're just simply cutting the tomatoes. You don't have to get rid of the skin. The smaller ones, you don't even have to get rid of the indent where the stem was. You're just simply cutting off the stem. And then depending on the size, like those Romas, you can cut just in half. These bigger ones need to be cut into several pieces, like triangle size pieces, so that they can fit into the hopper of the actual KitchenAid thing. Maybe you got some really funky pieces because look, I'm not buying these from the store. These are legit out of my organic garden. They have blemishes on them. You can leave a lot of them, but if you get those black or cracks and stuff like that, I go ahead and get rid of those pieces as well. So we're just going to keep slicing them up. And here's that KitchenAid strainer, and I'm going to put a link in the description below. This is just totally worth it. You have to have a KitchenAid. There's probably a knockoff brand I bet you could get into. So we have them chopped up and we're putting them in the hopper and you're using this little push thing to push them through. It's going in. It is literally separating the seeds and the skin from the juice and the sauce. Like mind blowing. It's doing so much of the work for you because canning sauce takes a lot of work no matter what process you're using. But this is phenomenal that you don't have to do any pre boiling of your tomatoes or anything like that. You're simply just cutting them, put them in this beautiful thing, and it is literally just separating it everything for you. So you can't get any better. I've tried it lots of different ways, and making sauce, this is the ticket right here. Yep, you're just going to watch that drip out. So you've got two containers. You've got one catching the sauce, the other one is catching the slop, which is the skin and the seeds. And we give a lot of the tomato stuff slop to our chickens and our pigs. So there's no wasted or anything like that. But you could put it in your compost and save it for next year. You probably get a lot of baby plants that would come popping up. I'm going to go ahead and grab even more tomatoes than what you saw because we're going to can up quite a bit today. You could do this in whatever amount that you have. And I'll write the amounts down below for you guys just to kind of give you an idea of like how much you need. I usually do it per bucket. Those are 3-gallon buckets. I'm just showing you right there. Look, those tomatoes aren't perfect, but we're going to cut those bad parts off. I've got the kids chopping and tending the fire and doing the KitchenAid attachment while I get to go out and pick wonderful red tomatoes from the garden. So that's really cool. So we're going to pick as many as we can. And then I did not take these in the house to rinse them off. I just simply went and put a bucket of water and just kind of like just use my hand to rub off any of the dirt. But see, mine are off the ground, so it's not too bad. So as soon as we start getting a couple containers full, we're starting to get this huge stock pot over the fire that's on a camp grate. You can use any type of however your fire setup is. This is just cinder blocks with a camp grate, and this a big old stock pot that I got from Costco many years ago, but you can use any size that you want. But when you are filling it up, you want to make sure you leave a lot of space. Like you can fill up a little bit more than half, but because there's all that water in there, eventually, depending on how your fire is going, it's going to boil up too much and spill over. So you want to make sure you are paying attention to it and don't overfill it. So make sure you get a lot of space for that bubbling up. And you'll see that the color is changing quite dramatically as the fire and the sauce is going along and cooking along. It becomes a very deep red, and you'll start to see it get thicker. Usually the thickness is settling to the bottom, so you're going to want to stir this every couple minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever, depending on how crazy you've got your fire going. And you just want to give it nice, good stirring. And you'll see, like again, that deep red color is showing up. And this part is going to be up to you. How thick do you want your sauce? If you want it super thick, go ahead and just leave it, keep it on the fire for as long as you can handle it. It does take a long time. You need to plan for many hours for this whole entire process. Again, it depends on how much you're doing. We did a boatload. So as soon as I think the sauce is getting pretty close, I'm going to actually pull it off the fire to cool down. So I'm not putting boiling tomato sauce into my canning jars here. And I'm not pre-warming up my jars because they're outside and they're already in the sun getting pretty warm, or you can even put them closer to the fire or anything like that. So I'm just kind of setting up that table that we had the KitchenAid on, and I brought that over closer to it there. So I'm getting all the jars ready, and the canner, the pots that I'm going to be putting the jars into. I have my vinegar getting ready and everything like that. I've got two different types of pots that I'm using today. So I just kind of got everything cleaned and ready to go. I use the vinegar to wipe the rims after I put the stuff in, after I put all the sauce in. Just showing you the jars there. So this is a really great way to, again, keep all your mess and that heat and that moisture outside. So I've got the funnel ready. I'm going to need two really good pot holders to bring that off the thing to sit to the side. And we're almost there. We're going to start bringing it off pretty soon. Okay, now we're going to be filling it up. And I'm just simply filling it up with the appropriate amount of head space there at the top. I usually leave an inch about for everything, which is just at that lip part where it's going. I'm using my stainless steel coffee mug that I use for coffee, and I use for canning, and I use for all kinds of stuff for running the lard because it's not glass. I'm not afraid that it's going to bust or anything like that. And I'm using my stainless steel funnel as well. So now I actually have these pH test strips. This is just for fun because you need it to be a pH level of 4.6 or under for safely canning, but I still go ahead and add in either vinegar or citric acid. I'm just kind of showing you that. My heirloom tomatoes that I'm growing organically are already actually under the safety limit. But again, you do your own research, and I'll give you the links to the ball and maybe some other sites and stuff like that. You can take a look in my printable recipe as well. I'm going to add sauce or salt to all of these. That is completely optional. It's just for flavor. It's not for preserving or anything like that. So I'm choosing for this water bath canning load with my sauce, I'm using vinegar instead of citric acid. So I use Azure Standard distilled white vinegar. It's organic. It's actually 11% vinegar compared to like your typical store stuff is 5%. So normally you need 4 tablespoons of that 5% vinegar per quart jar of tomato sauce, but I'm going to use 2 because it's 11%. So that's why you see 2. And I barely measure. It is what it is. I already did the pH strip, so I feel pretty comfortable with it. And then I'm going to go ahead and, wipe those lids off, the ring off really good. And then with vinegar as well on a towel or on a paper towel, either one. It just helps seal it much better and really clean. And a friend told me that a couple years ago. I'm like, that makes so much more sense than just wiping it off with water. Just, vinegar cleans everything, right? We use it for all kinds of cleaning stuff. And then I already washed the lids and the rings. And we're going to put those on there. And you're only going to put those on there finger tight. And what that means is that you don't need to be like, I'm going to get this sucker on there. And you're like, ring it on there. You're like basically barely putting it on. You need it to hold there, but you don't need to over tighten it too much because you need to let some of like the air and the bubbles kind of go through and come out a little bit for to get a really good seal. And then we're going to put it back on the fire in our canning jars. Here I'm just showing you. It basically just changed it just a little bit by adding the vinegar. Citric acid actually will change it a little bit more. But again, I feel pretty comfortable with it, so I'm okay with it. But you can look at your extension offices, always have all kinds of canning resources if if you double check and want to make sure you're safe and everything like that. Or there's those groups out there, Canning Rebels, and they do all kinds of stuff. I've pretty much followed the rules for canning, other than I make my own salsa up and stuff like that. So we're going to put those in our canning pots with a rack of some sorts. And then we're going to put it back on the fire and get that fire going pretty hot because you need that water boiling. And you'll see that here in just a few minutes how much I want to go ahead and get the water boiling. And then once it's got that boiling, then you're going to run your processing time. And I'm actually above 1,000 feet sea level. So I have to add on 5 minutes, but typically for quart jars, it's 40 minutes. But I will run it for 45 minutes just because I'm just a little bit over that sea level mark where you got to double check. And you can just probably just do some kind of simple search to double check to see what sea level you're at. I'm like, oh, wait, I have the wrong kinds of lids. What do I got to figure out? So, because I'm doing wide mouth, I'm doing small mouth. Really, it doesn't matter which ones. The smallmouth ones are cheaper and they're totally fine for sauces and liquids and stuff like that. Things when you are having a little more chunky or a little bit different to scrape out. Like when I render my lard, I like to put the lard in wide mouth jars just because it's easier to get it to come out and all that kind of stuff. So it's just personal preference. But like the normal regular mouth is actually cheaper usually, not by much though. And these canning jars and lids and everything like that, is just the price just keeps going up. So if you run into some at a garage sale and they're not your typical mayo jars that people say that they're canning jars, they're like legit the name brand ones. Like Azure Standard has beautiful ones. I've got a lot of Ball and I've got some Kerr. Kerr's okay, Ball is good. If I was needing to buy all over, I'd probably go with Azure Standard just because I feel really more comfortable with them. But Ball is just fine too. So if you see these at garage sales, totally pick these up. And whenever you see them on sale, especially at the end of the season, jars, lids, rings, whatever, especially the lids, buy them up because they are just going up in price. And we just don't need to, they're just pricing us out of everything. So stay ahead of the curve with that. So I'm looking at the water here. Not boiling, but I was just showing you what it was looking like. We're just going to get that fire going. I have the lid on for now. Usually I end up kind of leaving the lid on, but cracking it a little bit just so it stays at that boil for me. And, like if you lose a boil while you're doing it and it's only for a few minutes, I still keep running the clock personally. So those are just starting to come to a pretty good boil. And I have the lid on pretty tight, except for that one on the left. My left anyways. Oops, see, I closed it. I want to make sure that we've got a good boil. It's so fun canning outside, to be honest. It's one of my favorite things. It's a lot of work because you have to haul everything from the house outside. But I love being outside. It makes me be outside. I'm so connected to nature all the time. I'm using fire. It's free. And the mess and the heat and all that moisture and stuff stay outside. It's, like I said, it's a win-win. So this is why I'm saying canning like a mad woman because, I love canning and I love preserving food. And it's my food that I've grown and worked so hard on that God has blessed us so much with. And we can go ahead and just pop this sauce open for pizza and spaghetti and lasagna and eggplant parmesan and stuffed peppers and so many wonderful things that just, I hope you're drooling right now. So that one right there is boiling a little too much, so we got to calm it down. And of course, you can move your fire around. For us, we open up those bricks if we get it a little too crazy. There's my husband. Just keep feeding the fire. Next year, we're going to extend it a little bit so I can get those two big pots on there a little bit better. They're kind of like crooked on there a little bit. But After 45 minutes, I let them totally cool off in the water. Um, and then eventually I bring them out and put them up like that, you see. But like all the recipes, they say, oh, like 5 minutes, let them cool, and then you boil them out. I actually let them sit in a lot longer because there's that siphoning, which somehow the vacuum siphons out a lot of your stuff and you lose it because you're cooling it down too quick. So I just do it really slow. And then I pull them out to even cool down a little bit after, and you can tell it's actually getting darker out now. Cover them up with towels. That's the best way to do it. You want to slowly, very slowly cool them down. And then after quite some time, then we're going to finally bring them in the house. Then the next morning, well, actually right here, I'm enjoying the fire finally because nothing needs to be done. The kids are cleaning up all the stuff, and I am going to relax and enjoy a fire, which I absolutely love. So then you bring them in the house because it's going to be too cold overnight. If it was warm out, you could leave them out all night. Going to let them sit undisturbed. Then the next morning, I'm going to go ahead and give them a rinse. Always rinse off your lids. So you're going to take off the actual ring part, run them under water just to make sure there's no goo or gunk or anything like that. Leave the ring part off, rinse them off, let them sit, dry them off. Then you go ahead and make sure you label them, and then you can store them away in a dark area, your pantry or anything like that. And this is me just showing you how thick that we got it, and that's up to personal choice for what you want to do. So I hope you enjoy canning like a mad woman with me or mad man with me. I appreciate you being here. Like, subscribe, comment. See you guys.